it's like constantly happening. Like, and every day you're not ready for it. I'm like a Disney princess now. Like, I walk out my front door, I got a little chipmunk leave, like the fattest woodchucks you ever seen. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just walked outside. What the hell's going on?
I'm Snow
And he's
White.
like, I'm way too old and I got a beard. Like, I'm the worst Disney princess, and it's happening to me, for God's sake. You know, here you gotta pop on your pajama bottoms and slides and like drive through Middle Earth to get to Walmart, you know?
Welcome to another Living You podcast with Rich and Jess, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us. Today, we've got an interesting one. We've got a guest on our pod today. We haven't had a guest before, Jess, so we're excited for this.
First guest.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce our guest, and then we'll talk about what our larger, kind of the broad conversation we're going to have today?
Yeah, sure. So I had the pleasure of bumping into Ian out in the ether of the internet of realtor.com, and we can dive into that more. But yeah, he became a client of mine, and we worked together on his purchase upstate New York. So we just had a blast. Wink, wink. And I just thought, as our first guest, it's helpful to our listeners to just hear a buyer perspective on process. And Ian was a willing participant.
I am willing, yes.
This is fascinating to me. This is something I've always wanted to do to some degree before we even had really a podcast, Jess, was just like, there's a lot when we wear our agent hat, you know, we're thinking agent things, and that's our role. That's our primary role in the process. But we're also humans. I've also consumed. I've bought houses in the past, so we've been in those shoes before. But when we're in the middle of our job, it is a little hard to think, what is this person going through? What is their preconceived notion? What are they maybe learning along the way? And then, you know, what were the stumbling or the expectations, the things that weren't expected? So I think that's what that's what we're going to enjoy today, is a conversation about what was the ride like, and, and how did it fit the perception.
What's happening to you? We want to know.
So many things.
So many things. So, all right, let's jump in. Ian, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you are, who we're talking to.
I am Ian. I'm an animator, and I work in advertising. So I make the things that everybody hates, but you know, what are you going to do about it? So I've worked for the big New York agencies for the past 30 years. Lived in New York for 30 years, and it's advertising is an interesting job because, you know, you think you were building a nuclear bomb. Basically, it's all 24/7. It's late nights and weekends and holidays, and everyone's screaming and yelling and panicking, and it's a very stressful work environment. We'll put it that way.
In a very stressful living environment. Well, I don't want to foreshadow living in. And where did you move from?
I lived in Williamsburg for 30 years. So Williamsburg, Brooklyn, saw the neighborhood change. Like when I moved in, it was all like, you know, crack whores and crack vials in the streets. And when I left, it was all like fintech bros and Adderall everywhere. So it's like, you know, you see the city change basically, and it does. So, the same place for 30 years, basically at the top of Brownstone, which was 1890. It was maintained in a curious fashion. So, you know, we had all the sloping floors and creaks and weird things. And, you know, I had a leak that couldn't be fixed for like 20 years, which was interesting. And, you know, but it just became like the place I existed, because normally I was usually at the office. And then it was kind of just the place I would come back home and sleep. And then when COVID hit, there's kind of like two New Yorks. There's like before COVID and after COVID. And then when COVID hit, that's like, okay, I'm work from home now. It's like, oh, this is great. I can walk 15 feet and I'll be at work. Fantastic. Which is like, that's entertaining for like 6 months. And then because of my job, like if somebody calls and wants me to do something, I have to answer. I have to do it immediately. There's no like, oh, I'll get to it in 15 minutes, or like, oh, hey, I'm at lunch, you know? Like, you don't get lunch breaks. You can't do that. So you are just constantly working. So I was at the top floor, so I was stuck in my apartment basically. And, you'd look out the window and there'd be people walking outside. You'd be like, man, that looks nice. Wish I could do that. But if I walk down 4 flights of stairs, inevitably, as soon as I hit the pavement, somebody's going to call and I got to walk 4 flights back up. And, it was not a healthy way to live, put it that way.
Right.
But it was
Right.
better than working in the office. So, the
Right.
strange as it sounds.
Right. So was there a moment in time or an event or something that kind of put the bug in your ear? I gotta go. I gotta
I
go.
mean, it was always in the back of my mind. And then when
Hmm.
COVID hit, before COVID, we were all in the office. So, like, all the rich muckety mucks and all, like, the young kids and everyone in between. So, you were just living there and working there all the time. And then when COVID hit, boom, all of a sudden everyone's on Teams or Zoom or whatever. So, there's, like, the rich guy, the head guy, or the head super clients, and they're in their multi-million dollar houses, and you'll be like looking and be like, is that a Picasso? Wow. Like, and
Nice.
then at the bottom of the screen are like the interns and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, you're in your childhood bedroom. Is that a Muppets poster back there? Like, what's going on? It's like, I feel bad for you. And you just saw the disparity of like how people lived.
Yeah.
And then like in like 2 weeks, all the sort of rich people migrated upstate. And so, like, they'd be conducting, like, they'd be telling you what to do in their gardens or, like, wandering across their fields. And you're, like, stuck in Brooklyn being like, man, like, what am I doing? But
Wow.
unfortunately, like, the work grind was so constant that I couldn't ever get a break to, like, be able to get away. And, like, the years were just starting to slip by. And, like, because you're just at work, you're just doing stuff. And then in the beginning of this year, my landlords, who are, they're two old ex, firefighter guys. One's in his 90s, the other one just hit 70, I think.
Mm.
And they suddenly came up and they're like, hey, we sold the building. I was like, okay. And they're like, everyone's got to be out in 6 weeks. And I was like, not entirely sure that's legal, but,
No. No.
whatever. But that was like the genesis of like, and this was like in January, basically when this happened. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I am doing this. So I told work, I was like, look, because, with my work in particular, I'm locked down 24/7. So I
Hmm.
can't do anything else. So I was like, I'm going to stop working for a bit. I need to figure this housing situation out. And they're like, okay. It's like, well, you're going to be done in 2 weeks. And I was like, probably not.
Probably not. And moving laterally, right, in Williamsburg, right? Because you were there
Oh,
30 years. So,
yeah. And basically, I was there for 30 years, and my rent was 2,700, which is
which
for the
when you
top.
told me that, like my head popped off. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, the top floor of a brownstone for 2,700. Even if it's like wonky, you're like, yeah, I can live with this. This is fine. Because I mean, Williamsburg, you're looking at what bottom end is 4 grand.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
And like, there's places going for like 10 grand around in there that have like 20 kids stuffed inside it. And they're like, we live in Williamsburg. And it was like, you live in a closet. Like, good for
Yeah,
you. So I was
exactly.
like, all right. And just like, I knew I didn't want to move to another apartment in New York City. I was just like, you know what? This is my chance. I want to, before I die, I want to have my bare feet on grass. That would be nice. Like, if that's entirely possible, I would
Oh
like
my
it.
gosh. That speaks to
So,
my soul. And one of the things you said to me was what? I just want a big open sky. I
yeah.
just want to see the sky. And now listening to your story, like trapped on the top floor of a brownstone and sadly peering out the window, I get it.
Yeah, and before that, it's like community office. Like you're hitting the subway like when it's dark outside, and then you hop on the subway and you're going up a bunch of stairs and getting your connecting train, and then like hopping out on the street and it's just buildings. They're impressive. It's nice, but you don't really see the sky. You don't really see nature. You're always like just crowded in with craziness and weird smells and like and that's your life. You're like year after
Craziness
year.
and weird smells.
Yeah, so it's like it would be
Hashtag.
nice. Yeah, it would be nice to just have some. It's like, what does an empty space feel like? I have no idea anymore.
Yep.
So
So then why was it because of the rolling fields and the gardens that the rich people were in, or why upstate? What was the area? Because
I
you're originally from Connecticut,
originally
right?
no, originally from Massachusetts.
Okay.
Massachusetts. Well,
Okay.
they're the
And like
same two New Yorkers.
yes,
I get
Jesus,
it. I get it. We're like, it's a state over there.
it's like one of them weird ones over there. But like I'd grown up in the suburbs slash country, and like as a kid, and that was the '70s, so you could like you know, have breakfast, hop on your bike, and then just go on an adventure. And like nobody cared where you were, so you're wandering
Right.
through fields or like I don't know, just doing anything in nature. And then went to college upstate, so definitely you get the sense of just fields and farms and sort of wonderfulness of that.
Where
Then
was
immediately after
college,
that,
Ian? Where
yeah,
was
went
college?
to Bard College,
Okay.
a little red whorehouse on the Hudson. So I don't know if they're still called that, but who knows? But and then after that, it was like, okay, now you're in New York. It's
Yeah.
like, and this is entirely artificial. It's concrete. It's dirty. It's like,
Yeah.
and here you go. And I spent 30 years there. And it's like New York's great when you're young because you're running around going to bars and just having a grand old time. But it's like the older you get, it's kind of like, oh, Jesus Christ, the sun went down. I better go to bed. Oh my God, you're just like, it's like, should I go outside? You're like, oh no, you just get tired of all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and plus, it's like you go outside and you're like, oh well, I'm standing on the street. This is fun. I've seen this about a million times. So there was nothing like. It was time for a change.
Yeah. Awesome. So how did you oh, go ahead, Rich. You got
No,
something?
well, I was just going to add on. So along the lines of like that original notion of kind of getting out. I mean, a lot of that is linked to employment, right? So am I hearing correctly that you're almost 100% online work? I mean, do
Oh,
you
I
have to go
am.
into an office physically ever at this point?
Yeah, I am work from home. Even when they established, they're like, okay, everyone back in the office. And I was like, no, I am not taking, like, my subway commute was supposed to be like 20 minutes, but it's a subway in New York City
Yeah.
in the
No.
morning. So, like, plan for an hour and a half. And, like, by the time you get to the office, you're just so filled with, like, hate. Like, it's like trying to sit down and then work. You're like, oh my God, I need to punch someone. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, let's
You know?
change that. Yeah.
Like rather than just like mildly walking over in like my pajama bottoms to the computer, and I was like, this is nice, I like this. Like nothing made me angry on the way over here or like crazy or any of that kind of stuff. Like I didn't get rained on. I wasn't stuck in a subway car for like 45 minutes with like people panicking or something like that. It's
You
like, no,
didn't
just
get
walk
spit
around.
on, you weren't mugged, you weren't followed.
Exactly. Like nothing weird happened like from the kitchen to over here. That was great. I like that. What a pleasant way
So
to live.
funny. It's
So,
fantastic.
and also like because I work in animation, I just have a better machine. Basically, I can build myself the exact kind of equipment that I need to work with. Whereas if I'm in an office, you're usually working with equipment that's like, they'll be like, oh, it's top of the line. It's like, this is 5 years old, and you're missing X, Y, and Z. If you need certain things, they'll be like, well, I don't know. We'll fill out a requisition form. Or if I'm, at home, most like, I'll just buy that. And like, life carries on. And also, it's just quality of life. Because in the office, like, you could be sweating all day to hit like a 6 o'clock deadline, and everyone's just exhausted. Everyone got in like 7 o'clock in the morning. You hit the 6 o'clock deadline. They'd be like, send it off to the client. They'd be like, oh yeah, they're at the Knicks game. They'll be available at midnight. So everyone just hang out. And so then you're just like looking at each other, being like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing here? And that happens all the time. So when you're at home, at least you'll be like, all right, I'll go do the dishes or something. Like you can further your life a little bit better. So,
Yes. So how did you start the process? You're like, all right, I'm ready to buy. I'm getting out of here. What was step one, step two, step three?
the internet. So
Ah.
basically, after getting jealous of looking at all these people and their fancy pads, and them describing them at length, which is really annoying. Like,
Oh gosh, rubbing it
beautiful
in.
Vermont farm I bought. And they're, instead of telling you what, like, their notes or something like that, they're giving you a tour of their house, and you're like, really happy for you, man. This is great. Uh, but what I did is, you started the usual places, like, oh, I look on Zillow or that other one. And I stumbled onto Realtor.com, and they had environmental notes. So,
Okay.
which the other two, I mean, the other two places may have them now, but at the time they didn't. So, like, you could look at a house and be like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And, like, the environmental note says, like, oh no, this house is owned by the angry river god next door, and it's going to reclaim it and flood everything. So, like, that's why it's cheap. And you'll be like, oh, okay. Like, thanks for the heads up there.
Amazing.
So definitely that was like the best site that I was found. And then I would literally just like, in moments of hope or despair, be clicking around and being like, and looking at all these places and collecting a kind of portfolio and thinking that it's like, oh, one day I will do this. And then because the building got sold, it kind of kickstarted everything. And it was like, okay, what's available now? Because
Yeah.
like,
Different
which
kind of
unfortunately, I
urgency,
mean,
right? Yeah.
for people buying in the future, hopefully you have a more relaxed cadence of doing that and not have to be like, okay, what inventory is out there now that I can move into now?
When you this is fascinating. When you were prior to the urgency level of the necessary move, did you have a budget in mind or certain features in mind that you were looking for, or was there a specific geographic area? And then how much did that change once you kind of were like, oh, I gotta take this more seriously. This is go time.
Basically, I was looking from Sullivan County on up
Okay.
because, like, downstate, upstate was like expensive, you know?
Yep.
And maybe you could find a deal, maybe you couldn't. And you'd be like, oh, hey, here's a little shack on a quarter acre. And you'd be like, no. I was looking at around like 350, 400,
Okay.
with keeping in mind that it was like, okay, I better set aside like at least 100 grand because I'm probably gonna have to do something. Like God knows the house may look fine, everything may look great, but have that money set aside just in case. It's the floor falls out there, like
Yep.
something weird happens.
Right.
Uh, and then basically when the push came, uh, this area, uh, Otsego County, and around this area, like this was kind of had more available stock than the places downstate.
And
So I was
probably
like,
a lot more bang for your buck, right? For your
oh,
400K property
absolutely.
was offered a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like basically like where like downstate, you're like, okay, here's your quarter acre in your house. Up here, it's like, here's your 15 acres in your house.
Yep.
And you'd be like, oh, wow, that's nice. That's
That's
very pleasant.
better.
Because I mean, especially after living in, a New York City apartment, is like the last thing I want to do is like have some neighbor like right there, like
Right.
where I can look in their window and be like, hey, like people are fine, but like I'm tired of living like, want a little space.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
So
it's what we have
that
up
that
here, and
was
it is one of the appealing things. Is there's there is a true value in the regional market around here, and like you said, Sullivan between. People might not be listening, might not know the true geography, but basically, we're talking about anything from the 1 hour, 1.5 hour drive from Metro New York is still high high value real estate. And then as you get to that 2 hour, 2.5 hour, 3 hour mark, yes, you're further away from the metro center, but there's a true linear like price decline. It's just a matter of our economy up here is different. So we have lower incomes, houses are less expensive, even though there still can be quality homes for 350, 400K. Up here, that's like semi premium. That should be a decent selection of pretty quality properties.
Yeah, you can definitely find good stock for that.
Yep.
And it's basically like driving around here is kind of interesting. It's like the suburbs in a way, except everyone has like 10 to 20 acres. So they're just like separated, which is it's a lot of fun. So,
That's great. That's a great observation, actually. So you started the process on the internet, and
Yeah.
any other steps? What else did you kind of do to get ready to pull the trigger?
I mean, for a while it was just daydreams and bookmarking things and that kind of stuff. But when push came to shove, it was like, all right, how are we going to plan this? And I knew I had to do it quick. I didn't even have a car at that point in time. Like when this all happened, so I was like, I got to go buy a car.
Interesting.
Which, like, I didn't want to deal with driving in New York City. So what I did is basically I kind of laid out a plan of being like, okay, I've got to make this happen. And was starting to look at places around in here, and just first place I picked and wanted to look at, I happened to connect with Jess,
Okay.
which was Kismet, basically. Uh, so I set up a time to start looking at places with her. And about 2 weeks before that, bought a car, parked it at New Hamburg Station, which is $6 a day. It's a great deal, and they have long-term parking. And so left the car up there, made an itinerary, basically booked a hotel during the off season, I must say, because this area is big on baseball, and boy, does stuff fill up fast during the summer. So if you want to be looking at something, do like end of winter, spring, because you're going to get a cheaper hotel price. Uh, and then just hopped in the car and started driving around and seeing stuff. And it was literally like, this is a stock available. Let's go take a look at it.
Ian, I don't know about your transaction a whole lot. I don't even really know a lot about the property, so we'll get into that. But was this I don't even know, was this a cash purchase, or did you have to go through a lender, and did you think about financing prior to seeing stuff? I'm just curious if that was in your progression of
So
thoughts.
yeah, I had, originally I knew like immediately in January when this started, it was like, okay, I want to set up financing with my bank. So I had a meeting with them, and they're like, great. And like, good initial meeting, good initial setup, all that kind of stuff. And then they just left me on read for like a month and a half. And I was like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Like just radio silence from them. So finally I was like, I talked to my nephew, and he had bought a house in Bergen County, I think it is, Monmouth County, New Jersey. And so like he had done the same thing. Like, went through his bank, everything was fine. Literally, when his wife was giving birth to their second child, the bank called them and they're like, hey, we rejected you. And they were supposed to move in the next week or like 3 or 4 days later.
Oh
So
my
he's out in the
God.
parking lot, smoking like a bastard, freaking out, calling a mortgage lender. And the mortgage lender was like, yeah, we'll set you up. Don't worry about it. So he's like, okay. So, he was like, just go to a mortgage lender. He's like, it'll be fine. So my accountant actually hooked me up with a mortgage lender. And initially everything was great, like got the lender, got the broker. The annoying thing about that process is like it is arcane. You have no idea what's going on. Like the broker is just some entity out in space. You can't talk to them. You can't contact them. And they like, they ask for all this stuff. It's like, give us your bank statements, give us this. I think I put up like 40% up front because I do have a non-traditional job. I am not technically hired by anyone. I have my own company, so I'm a permalancer basically with these places. So they look at that and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, like you're not a real person." And it was like, "I am. I breathe and I work and I earn money and stuff like that." And like the annoying thing, it was like, it doesn't matter how much cash you have sitting on hand, unless you're buying outright. When getting when getting something with a lender, they'll kind of like really dig into you. So I sweetened the pot a little by raising it to 40, and they still came up with all sorts of weird questions, and it took forever. Like 2 months was just like radio silence, and they would occasionally chime in saying like weird stuff. It's like, you're not going to make this a B and B, are you? And I replied by saying it was like, you are seriously overestimating my like ability to like serve people and in my house, like
It was a great text message that day I got from you. Yeah, that was one of the
yeah.
funnier ones.
And it was like, why are you
This
asking this question after like a month and a half too? Like,
Yeah.
what relevance is this?
this initial lender, this initial lender was the one that you saw the whole process through, though, correct? Is that true?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it did work out,
But
even though it was a little awkward at first.
it's very awkward because basically the broker is he's doing all the work with them, and then you just occasionally get like weird notes, like having to prove something about yourself, and send all those. I think I had to like state what my job was at least 7 times. Uh,
Yeah, different review processes, and then we got into underwriting.
yeah, which I had no idea about because all
No
of a sudden
idea.
they turned around and it was like your loan was rejected because the property is 15 acres and it's rural. And I was like, how did you just notice that now?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you guys
Right.
been looking at this for 2 months. And Jess is like, no, that's underwriting. They're a completely separate, different group of idiots that like do their own thing. And I was like, is no one talking to each other here? What's going on?
They're too
So
big
it's
for
like
Common.
themselves.
It's
Banks.
a common thing, and then it's unfortunate too because you would think that system would be more linked together, right? You wouldn't want someone to onboard you in a way that let's get you 75% of the way through something and then find out that it's not something we'll actually approve in the end. That's annoying, and actually more than annoying. So paint the
right.
picture for me. Let's move on to you've contacted Jess online. Then how do I want to ask this? Did you have a perception of what an agent was going to do for you, and how did it go meeting Jess and going through those first conversations?
I mean, I thought basically what the agent was going to do for me was like, okay, I take you to the places, and I represent you as we look at the places. So that was my understanding of what was going on. And basically, like the kind of the first round, I had my heart set on this other place. And so we had kind of seen a bunch of different houses. And then we left the last one, the one I loved for last. And as soon as we walked in the door, it was like, oh, wow, someone with skill photographed this place. Because
Yeah, we
walking
hated
into
it.
it now, this sucks.
Yeah, we hated it
Yeah, it was
immediately.
literally like, how did they do that? Like,
How did they
oh,
make the rooms look big enough? Yeah.
and it just had this really weird layout that wasn't apparent from from anything.
Yeah.
And so we were both sitting at the kitchen table. The folks who owned it weren't there, and I was like, well,
Let's just sit and
damn.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, this is kind of the stock that was available and the price. I got to make this happen fast. We've kind of struck out. Like, now what do we do? And Jess was super quick on her feet. She started formulating a whole bunch of plans that, like, I didn't realize a real estate agent could do. But she was really like really quickly thinking things out. And she's like, okay, what about this place? And we could do this and maybe come in at this price and let's go look at it again and let's do this. And if you don't like it, I can go find a whole bunch of other new properties and like just immediately went into like turbo mode of options of things that can happen. And I was kind of like, I didn't think a real estate agent did that really. I thought their thing, like I thought it was that you brought them the information and they presented. And then after that, it'd be kind of like, well, see you later. So that really surprised me. And it was super helpful. And even during the whole process with my mortgage and trying to figure all that stuff, like, I couldn't get an answer from them at all of what was happening. So I would call Jess and she'd be like, no, you're in this part of the process. And this is what's going on. And like, give it a week. And like the real estate agent really is like your guide for this whole process and your champion to like
And your
figure
advocate,
out what's
yeah,
going on.
100%. Yeah. Ian, when we talked about doing this pod with our first ever guest, which we're so excited about, we were like, Jess, we have to be careful. We're not gonna like toot our own horns as agents, right, or our skill set. But truth is, like what you're saying is, she took she took a real advocacy role for you. She knew your timeline was tight. She knew that you just saw the number one on the list, and it was a major disappointment, right? And so then it's like, okay, that one's not the one. We got to immediately pivot and dig down and find something. Maybe it's a hidden gem, maybe it's a different concept. But she put that work in to try to get you into something that made sense, that was on the timeline you needed, and you know, and all that stuff. And
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe
And
maybe
it was,
truthfully,
you know,
not every agent would do that. So yeah.
which I wish they would do, because that's such a key thing. I think to like really making a sale happen, basically, is becoming that advocate, because this is my first time buying a house. So like I didn't know what was going on a lot of the time. Be like, I like this place, you know, and I don't like. This is all so outside of my wheelhouse that like I don't know where to go and what to choose and what are my options, you know.
Yep.
So having someone who can do that.
You skipped over a whole part where our number one house that we loved had an accepted offer or an offer on it. So Ian, I was like, well, here's one of the other things we could do. We could make an offer contingent on us seeing it, because it was going to go into contract before our scheduled showings. So we can make an offer that the seller can't refuse, contingent on us seeing it. So we had already put in like an over ask offer on that one, by the way. You remember that? And Ian was like willing to do that. And let's just get the seller's attention. Let's buy the time we need. And then if we don't like it, I'll call the agent and say, sorry, so sad. So that was another layer in the background. We're sitting at the kitchen table in a house we made an over ask offer on just so we can get there that day. And then it didn't work for us. So it also just kind of speaks to the process where you're never really set in stone, right? Even once you're in contract. But when you make an offer on things, you know, it was okay to make multiple offers. So I think that's good for people to know too. Like that's a tool in the tool bag as well. Like that's something that we were able to do so that I can even get you there, because we could have never even seen that house. And then we would be sitting here never knowing if that was the one that got away.
And that's true, because basically a couple was coming in the next day and we got in, you got us in ahead of them. And, you know, I was like, oh, we're so crafty. This is going to be great. And unfortunately, the house was like some basic bitch disappointment. You're like,
That's
oh,
right. But
okay.
you had the ability to say no, rather
Right.
than they weren't going to say no to you.
Absolutely.
Well,
And
you
you
put us
got
in
us in ahead of them, which I
Yeah,
was
so
like, you can do that? All
I
right.
can, wait, I could do it. I
Imagine-
could do it.
You know, imagine never knowing, right? You couldn't squeeze that in somehow. It was, and then you'd always have this. Well, there was always that one, the one
Right.
that
Yeah,
got away.
exactly. Like, I still drive by that house now, and I'm like, yeah.
You suck. Like you up on the hill, you suck.
Right. I've seen your inside. You're not that cool.
You have a weird mud room.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how does someone mess up a mudroom? I don't get that. But
It was like gigantic, but like then the dining area where we kind of thought would be like big, like enough room for workspace, was tiny. It was, and then the kitchen was off to the side, like an afterthought. It was strange, but
yeah, it
we
was
got
a
through that.
really weird house.
It was a weird house.
But it was cool to get to see it first, though.
That's right. What are we up to in our questions here? So, you have anything else, Rich, off the cuff that you were curious about?
Well, so I mean,
I know
guess-
you do. I feel it.
well, I'm a house person in the sense of I love the systems and the maybe not the interior design or the aesthetic, but I'm more about like, are these walls straight and is the plumbing good? And I'm not a home inspector, but over the years I've learned that those are the things that I want to help my client take a discerning look at, because those are the things that I know might end up being big ticket costs or might be, you know, potential inspection issues or whatever. So when I'm in a house, I'm kind of like, I'm doing two things. I'm thinking, is this right for you? And also, what are the things that are going to be either annoying or difficult or challenging for you? And I'm wondering, most people who are the buyer don't necessarily have that in their mind. They're more just like, hey, I like the view, or I like this back deck, or the rooms are big and pretty. Did any of those kind of systemic construction, layout, systems conversations come up during the showings? or was it really more like, oh, I like the feeling of this place that makes sense to me?
Yes, but I think it was a little challenging in the fact that the occupants were still in the house when we looked at it, and they collected stuff. And there was a lot of it. And that stuff was doing a lot of hiding.
Hiding, yes.
Uh,
And by
so
the way,
there,
sorry, but just so anyone listening knows, a home inspector can inspect a home, but they cannot technically move stuff. So they can't like peek behind a bookcase or move a painting or anything like that to look at what's going on. Just to clarify.
yeah, and I think and unfortunately in my case, I think a lot of jank was hidden, carefully, artfully hidden, that once removed, you'd be like, oh my God. Like, what were you people attempting to do here? So apart from like the normal stuff that we saw, that it's like, okay, the floors are a little wonk. That's fine. You know, it's an old house. It's like, the windows probably need to be replaced. Okay, I get it. It's like, we got to fix the outside siding. Okay. Uh, but definitely, like, once everything was empty, like the problem, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but the issue I'm facing now is that the kitchen, which when you look at it, it's got a very cool rustic feel to it. When you actually start using it, it's literally falling apart. Like the brackets are falling off, like things are just like badonk, something fell out. I'm already got teams coming in to kind of look at issues. There's a break in the floor that needs to be fixed that was hidden, basically. And it's the guy who used to live below me. He's actually from Otsego, and he's a handyman, works for the city. And so I was showing him the house through pictures, basically. And he's like, yeah, it's a nice place, but it's an old house. And he's like, just the one thing, to remember about an old house is they're always going to have one or two secrets. And I was like, okay, this was the secret. So,
Yep.
that's the only way that could have been avoided is if this house was empty and no one was living here. But unfortunately, it was one of the ones that I was like, I love this house and this property. Like, let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
And you fall in love with the potential a lot too, but like Rich says, it's that balance of I love it so much. Like when I saw my house, I loved it so much. I didn't care that at some point I'm going to have to spend $80,000 on a new bridge. I didn't care. I thought it was cool I was getting a bridge, and now it's getting to that point where this is a big ticket item that I was willing to overlook in the moment of falling in love and the romance of finding my perfect house. I had to do everything too. I had to do floors. I had to do things I didn't expect. I had to do all new windows. I put in the Generac, which you have, which is great. Like an
yeah, which
upstate
is already
property
installed. That is great.
should really have that. But yeah, there's always stuff. So it's that fine balance of I love it. I know it's going to need stuff. And what am I willing? What's my tolerance? Is usually the word I use with buyers. Like, what is your tolerance? You're going to
Yeah,
have to put money in.
And that's why, even looking for a place, it was like, okay, this, I'll set aside this much for the house, but also this much for repairs. Because
Super smart.
something's going to
And
happen or be weird.
That's so
And I
true.
think
Yeah, and maybe that's the cautionary tale to anyone who is a potential consumer in the future is like up here, well, almost everywhere, but up here, we don't have a lot of quote unquote new homes, right? Everything is anywhere from a 1790 original farmhouse to a 1960 ranch. There's not a lot that's been built in the last 50 years around here, to be honest. So almost everything is going to be pretty darn flawed if you really look closely, and if you whatever, you're walking the floors and they squeak. There's going to be problems, and I think one of our challenges as agents is to convey the idea that like home ownership is not easy. Houses have problems, things need to be fixed, and even if the prior owners did their very best, there's probably still a bunch of issues that are on the ticket list at some point, either now or in the near future, and that's why pricing and stuff like that is so hard, because you're buying what it is right now, and not either all agents or all consumers or all sellers are able to factor in like the milieu of what it is right now compared to what everything else is right now. I don't know what I'm saying necessarily, but it's just buying a house is never going to be perfect, right? And so there's always going to be an adaptability factor of like, okay, didn't realize this was going to be so annoying that the mudroom was so awkward, right? You know, when I looked at it for 20 minutes that one day, it seemed fine. But guess what? In my daily routine, it's super annoying that I've got to like, whatever, put my coat over here, for example. And
Yeah.
you just, those are the things you can't know until you're there.
Yeah,
I
and I
think you,
think it's, especially with an old house, it's like you have to be prepared that something's going to happen, but also it's a work in progress too. Like the
yes.
teams that I've got coming in to look at various repairs and stuff like that, there's like probably like there's a bunch of projects I want to do, but I don't have to do it all at once. It's like, okay, I
Right.
want to get this done because I want to get this done before, like, let's get the windows done before winter. And
Yep.
like
That's
the
smart.
kitchen needs to be fixed, so let's do that. All the other stuff can wait till next year
That's
or
right.
the year after. So
Thousand
it's like,
percent.
because it's annoying, but it's not life ending, basically.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Rich, you made a point, I think, without make realizing you made another point. So I think when we list homes, what I try to tell sellers is you can't really sell the potential. You have to sell exactly what you have and market exactly what you have. Like you can tell people this would be a great baseball rental, but you can't sell it as something it's not currently today. But what's interesting is as a buyer, you're buying potential. So that just became very apparent when you made your point. Like, wow, that is a completely different mindset. Whereas a listing agent, it's kind of our responsibility to market exactly what's there. So a buyer can make an informed decision, but the buyer is also looking way past that on what that potential is going to be down the line. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what you have to do because that love for the property, it sucks when you have to fix something or change something or do something, but I love my property so much, I'm willing to give it whatever it needs. But if you don't love your property and it becomes, now it's tedious to do work and make changes, but you're in a position where you can now shape this place to be your place. It's going to be totally different than how the previous owners had it. I mean, we already know a lot of the differences. It's minus 37 cats off the bat.
the whole cat thing, that's a whole story. But also, to Rich's point as well, is like, as a buyer, the money you're putting into the place is an investment. So it's not
Yes.
like, it's not going to, you are enhancing this property. So if you choose to sell at a certain point in time and you've done all this work on it, you know, that was a good place to put your money.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And I
For
mean,
sure.
what you're doing in that beginning phase is you're doing those personalizations for your usage and for your needs and for your design. It doesn't always convey to the next person, but you know, there's always that dilemma. Do I renovate something right before I sell, or it's like you could, but that might not be what everyone wants. You know, I always ask that question. But so okay, so I don't. We could chat all day. I feel like, Jess, do you have any other like hard hitting questions? Or I think the one thing that I would really want to know is, obviously you successfully did the thing, and now you're here and you're living here full time. So I want to know. My two would be, what's life like up here, and is it what you expected or hoped it would be so far? And then also, I think like we've talked about how Jess was a good fit for you and successfully navigated some tricky stuff. But was there anything in the process that was just downright disappointing, right? Because we want people to to understand the scope of buying a home in upstate New York is challenging in a lot of ways. It's finding something, it's negotiating for something, it's waiting for closing. You know, whatever things are. I don't put ideas in your head, but like what was disappointing, and then also what's life like up here. Those are my two.
And also what was wonderful. If you're going to talk
Well,
about what was disappointing, what was an
okay, fair enough.
unexpected, wonderful thing that you discovered? See, this is
That's
why
fair.
we're partners, because we balance each other.
I'm the dour and she's the optimist.
say like the most disappointing part of the process had actually nothing to do with you guys as real estate agents. It was all the mortgage lender process because that is so completely out of your hands that you're not even sure what's going on, and it takes a while. So I mean, there were parts, be a couple of weeks there where like, am I even buying a house? Like, what the hell is going on? And like, I couldn't get an answer from anyone. And I was like, I have money in the bank, and that doesn't matter. You know, it's all about whatever mystical algorithm they're weighing you on, or whatever's, you know, whatever the hell is going on. But that is completely out of your hands, and there's no one you can talk to about it. The only person I got to talk to about it was Jess, because she was the only one who would pick up the phone. So
And the
that
best she
was,
can do is sorry. No, go
yeah,
ahead.
I think
Yeah.
being prepared for that, like, unless you're buying cash outright, you know, going through the mortgage process is just arcane and weird. And you are so just left on read. And, you know, it sucks,
And that's
basically.
our
Yeah.
what I was going to add was like that's our frustration too, is that like we can't snap our fingers and make things happen. You ask us like, hey Jess, what's going on? Well, I can check, right? And I'll email or call that person and say, hey, do we have an update? And oh well, I'll check with this other person. And it's just playing a game of phone tag essentially. But you know, it's hard to gauge progress, I guess, is how we frequently find people experience it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Yeah,
that's what I
there's
said. You need to add me to the email chains. There was a few times that like I knew the questions and the words right to get out what Ian wanted. So I was like, just copy me on everything he sends you
good tip.
because I could probably decode it and figure out what's happening, and that was helpful. So your whole team should be working together because the more communication I have with the mortgage guy, the attorney, you know, the listing agent, it's going to be a lot more seamless. But that was what was hard, was that they felt very removed from all of us.
no, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
and that,
So what?
and I think one thing to keep in mind too, and I've been learning this from like the handyman and the crews coming in to look at stuff. Think about the season when you're buying. Like if you're looking at your place and you're like, I need to do outside work. It's like, okay, then you want to be in here by like spring. Because basically outside work happens in the summer, you know, that totally makes sense. And so you want that to happen. If you're doing interior stuff, that's probably going to happen in the fall and winter, just because there's only so many crews who can do that stuff up here, and they get booked, and they're working. So
Yeah.
if there's stuff you want to do, you're probably going to have to live with it if you moved in the wrong season.
That's a really good point.
Which I'm gonna, I mean, it totally makes common sense when you think about it. Like in New York, anything can happen at any time, you know?
Right.
You're like, I need that done. And you just call a guy and he'll be there in like 20
It's
minutes.
true.
But like up
Not here.
here, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And then as
That's a good
far as
point.
what life is like, I'll give you an example. Like it was a couple of days ago, I think. So like, you know, nighttime is falling. I'm taking the trash out, so I just walk outside. And I'm basically looking out on a huge field right here. It's about 7 acres. So I'm walking to the trash can, not thinking much, doing something completely mundane. I look up into the sky, and there is this massive storm, this thunderhead. The sun has just gone down, so like the tops of it were still lit by the sun. There were like huge lightning bolts, like somebody way over there was getting rained on. It was like, not me, I get to see this, but it was the most epic looking storm I've ever seen.
Oh, cool.
And then I look down at my field, and it is filled with thousands of fireflies, just everywhere. And I haven't seen those since in decades.
Yeah.
So like here I am doing the most mundane thing in the world, and like nature just smacked me in the face with the most gorgeous, like memorable scene I'll ever see.
Oh, that's
And I
so
was like,
beautiful.
God damn it, I was not prepared for this. So I'm standing out there like a dope, holding the trash for like 10 minutes, just looking at all this, hearing the distant sound of thunder and the crickets and whatnot. And I was like, wow. And that happens all the time up here. Like in New York, like you pop on your pajama bottoms and your slides and run out to the corner bodega store. You know, here you gotta pop on your pajama bottoms and slides and like drive through Middle Earth to get to Walmart, you know? Where you're just constantly assaulted by like the most beautiful things in the world. You'd be like, oh my God, look at that field. Jesus Christ, I'm driving. I gotta pay attention. You know,
That's what.
it's like constantly happening. Like, and every day you're not ready for it really because you're in the most mundane situations where, like in New York, you're just doing, you're existing, you know?
Yeah.
And like here, you'll just be smacked with the most gorgeous thing in the world. So by the
I
time you
love
get to the
that.
Walmart, you're like, that was exhausting. My
Wow.
God.
Awesome. See?
That's a great
I
point. I
love that.
mean,
So
yeah,
like
we
that
don't take it
that peace
for
of
granted.
mind and that beauty and the quiet is amazing. It is amazing. And like literally being able to just walk out my front door. I'm like a Disney princess now. Like I walk out my front door, I got a little chipmunk bro, he's hanging out. I got a whole family of like the fattest woodchucks you ever seen. There's like turkeys and bunnies and like a bunch of deer and everybody's frolicking and there's like a butterfly and hummingbirds and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just walked outside. What the hell's going on?
I'm Snow White.
And it's like literally they're all there at the same time, and I'm like, "You guys rehearse this? What the hell's going on?" Like, it's such a it beats looking at the laundromat from the window. You're like, "Hey,
Oh
how
man.
you doing?"
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't think there's a better summary of lifestyle. I do the same thing. I go out, there's a bunny, there's a butterfly, yeah, and I feel like a Disney princess. It's exactly accurate.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm way too old, and I got a beard. Like, I'm the worst Disney princess, and it's happening to me for God's sake. So it's like, all right,
It's amazing.
we're doing this now. Okay, cool.
That's right. I love it. So I guess so we're rounding out 50 minutes, which is great. And I thank
Yeah.
you so much for this. This has been great. But maybe you could just drop us with some advice. Anything I didn't ask you or anything like that, or maybe advice for people.
I
What do you think
mean,
is really important to leave buyers with?
look, if
Yeah.
you work from home and you can do this, do it. Because, like, strangely enough, the internet I got here in the middle of nowhere is faster than the internet I had in Brooklyn.
Amazing. That's good
And
to know.
like, things are cheaper up here. It's a better quality of life. Like, you don't have to be stuck in your apartment all day, like wishing you can go outside. Like, and there's a lot more New Yorkers up here than you think. It's what I told my neighbors again in my old building. People on the second floor, they're like, "Oh, wait, we know someone who literally lives 6 minutes away from you,
Wow.
and they own a farm down the road."
Holy moly.
Ex-New Yorkers, and like you kind of see people that you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's a New Yorker. That's a New Yorker." There's a lot of
Yeah,
little
because
towns around here.
because they're wearing black.
Yeah, exactly.
I
We're
still wear
making the
black everywhere.
transition.
We'll never give up the black.
Exactly. And it's
That's
like
great.
it's a thing to do. But and the one thing is, you're going to be doing a lot of driving. So if you can get a hybrid, I got a hybrid, so I got about 600 miles to a tank, which in
That's
today's
enough.
age helps. Uh, but honestly, do yourself a favor, take a long weekend, come on up here, and start looking around. There's deals to be had. Just be smart about it, and like your life will radically change, and you'll be struck by the universe while you're taking your garbage out. So
That's awesome.
which is just it's a fantastic way to live. So
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. I thank you so much for
pleasure to
saying
be
yes
here.
and doing this with us because that
This was
was
great.
just as great as I thought it would be. And yeah, no, and you were a pleasure to work with. And, one of the things that you did well, if we're giving any advice, was you were along for the ride. Whether it was, a good or bad thing, you were like, all right, tell me how to fix this, tell me how to move forward. It's important to have that kind of perseverance, and that dedication to that end. Even though when we were at our walkthrough, you were like, I didn't even think we were closing. Which I was like, yes, yes, we will get to the end. So that perseverance, and you had that, and you were a pleasure to work with as well. And I wish I had a million Ians. So if you guys want to move up, I'm here for you too.
Right, exactly. And what's good about Jess is she's from the city, so she's done this move,
Yeah, I
so
get it.
she knows the process that you'll have to be going through, which
Yeah.
is, I found great movers, weirdly, when I was moving up. Like everyone's got moving horror stories, These dyno movers, and like these three Uzbeki guys shows up, and like they emptied my apartment in like 45 minutes, and I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, I should have taken more stuff. And I have this big iron desk that was like made in the Eisenhower administration. It's like it's the actual like duck and cover desk for like protecting top men. It's all metal. It's not like that crap
From
they
a
gave
nuclear
school kids or
bomb.
any of that kind of stuff. But it's like 400 pounds. And like, 25 years ago, a bunch of swearing guys like literally hauled it up the stairs to my place. So when I was leaving, I was like, I don't know if the three of you can do this. And the head guy was like, oh, no, wait, I can take this apart. And I was like, it doesn't come apart. Like a whole bunch of swearing guys 25 years ago said it didn't. And I believed him. He took it apart, put it back together, made it way easier to move. I was like, whoa, you guys are good.
Yeah. So what company was that?
That was Dino Moving.
All right, might as well give them a plug
Yeah,
because
highly
I also
recommend.
had a great movie. I had used Piece of Cake. I know in the city you see like these big pink trucks driving around. I call them Eastern Europeans. Same thing. They were like, "Listen, I'm not going to get this couch. I'll get the couch down the stairs." It's actually that chair right there in question. We were never getting it through that little door up the little farmhouse stairs. He's like, "I'll take this now." I got it up, got it where I wanted it. So yeah, so good movers definitely go a long way.
Yeah, and that's like a huge, like nothing, none of my stuff got broken. It was all, and they were fast too. Because I was like, oh, this is going to take like 4 hours. They had me done 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Yep.
I was like, now what do we do? You guys, I don't know, hang out or
Go.
what?
That's awesome. Well, thank you again. Rich, any last thoughts? You want to send us off?
No, this was fantastic. We appreciate your time and your insight and your journey. And you and I had not met previously, so I'm just thrilled that you're settling in. That the house is a unique thing that's providing constant like you said, the universe is speaking to you. Like I don't know, that is what upstate living is. It's a mix of beauty and some challenges, of course, but I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad that you had a good agent to get you through the process, and I hope you have many happy years at that property. And tell everyone about your journey. And yeah, this is just fun. I don't know, Jess. We have, like I said, we as a burgeoning podcast that we're putting time and energy into. It's fun to speak with someone else because Jess and I talk all the time to each other, and we enjoy those kind of like real estate agent type conversations. But we've been wanting to get kind of a different perspective, and it's fantastic. So I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. It was my pleasure to be here, Seth. This was fun.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna tap us out. See you guys next time.